How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Shawn and Matt Show. My name is Matt, that is Shawn, and welcome to our show. Shawn, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about Dan Snyder, Commanders owner Dan Snyder, purchasing the most expensive property to ever sell in the greater Washington, D.C. area. We're going to be talking about how out-of-town home buyers are inflating prices, and we're going to go through the 10 cities where prices are most inflated due to out-of-town buyers. So, Shawn, is there a bubble, a little bubble action in these cities?
So.
Because you got people that don't normally buy there, that have only bought there maybe in the past couple of years.
It's a big thing.
And now there's a big delta between those buyers and actual average sales price in those cities. And then we're going to finish it off with a Miami mansion that is for sale IRL in real life. However, when you buy the mansion, you also get an NFT, a real piece of property in a certain metaverse. It's not like its own metaverse. It's a very popular metaverse that has a lot going for it right now.
That's a cool concept. I love it.
So let's start with Commanders owner Daniel Snyder has purchased Riverview, which is the most expensive property ever. It was listed for $60 million, ended up closing recently for $48 million, all cash, of course. And this was George Washington's former property. It used to be part of the Washington estate. It's located near George Washington's Mount Vernon. This is located in the Fort Hunt neighborhood. So if you ever ridden your bike or driven down GW Parkway down a ways, Fort Hunt, very underrated. 7979 East Boulevard Drive is the home address. And the way that the sleuths figured it out is because Dan Snyder, who is arguably the worst person ever, the worst owner ever, the worst human being ever. And if you don't know much about Dan Snyder, like Shawn, if I were just to if you're like, hey, I don't know, what can you just tell me why?
Yeah, tell me why.
So he bought the team in 1999.
Okay.
If you were to just come up with a blueprint of how to just destroy a storied franchise, Dan Snyder has done that. Like everything he's done, like a smart, rational, logical person would do the opposite.
Okay.
So whether it's lawsuits, whether it's culture, whether it's lying blatantly to staff and personnel, people go work at Redskins Park and then leave because of how terrible the toxic culture is. Arguably the worst pro owner in North American sports. I'm not going to say in the world, because there's some really sketchy owners in Premiership that just have oodles of money and it kind of like oligarchy type of people. But Dan Snyder, worst person ever.
Yeah, and it shows in the team as well. I mean, thankfully I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan and always have been. And, we've been to the playoffs a lot. But every year I hear the same thing with Redskins fan. And, naturally I'm going to root for them. I live here, right?
Commanders.
I mean, exactly. Football team to Commanders. Okay, so the Commanders now. Sorry about that. It's the same thing every year. You have high hopes. Everybody's like, this is going to be the year. This is going to be the year. And guess what? It's never the year. It's always the same story, the same exact story. And it's got to be, as a fan, just a deflating thing every year.
Yeah. Well, just since you're a Steelers fan, I mean, just think about if Ben Roethlisberger was a team owner. Ben Roethlisberger, horrific person, terrible allegations. He's done some horrible things to women in his life. Just multiply that times 1,000, and you almost come close to Dan Snyder. And I wish I could just list off all of the lawsuits, because it's literally hard to keep up with every single thing that's happening.
I really don't know. I mean, I'm learning here.
But I didn't necessarily want to turn this into a Dan Snyder thing. I more so wanted to turn it into a real estate thing. This is a property that's on 16 acres, right along the Potomac River. There is a little, I shouldn't say little, there's a boat slip there, and Dan Snyder does have a 300-foot yacht. I don't think, now, I'm not a yacht expert, but I don't think that's where you would park the yacht. I think you would just have that in a boathouse, and then maybe for soirees and events and whatnot, you can park it at your house and then, have it driven. But it's right on the water, so he doesn't need to cut down 100 trees to see the water, which he did do in his Potomac, Maryland house, which was on the market for sale for something like 48 million in 2018. And Shawn, I'm just trying to figure out the motivation for buying this property. I mean, clearly he wants another little notch on his bedpost, another little trophy to have. But also, the stadium deal is coming up. Jason Wright, the team president for the Commanders, has already blatantly said to the media that in 2027, when the agreement expires at FedEx Field, they are the Commanders will have a new home. They're not going to be playing at FedEx Field in Landover, Maryland in 2028. Now, Dan Snyder lives in Potomac, Maryland. Potomac to Landover, sure, easy commute. Potomac to Prince William County, Potomac to RFK, a little bit more of a commute. So maybe Dan Snyder is buying the Alexandria property to be closer to Prince William County, because just yesterday in the Virginia legislature, there is a bill that is creeping and crawling and making its way silently. I don't know how silently, but it's making its way through the Virginia House and the Virginia delegate, which is essentially what it's doing is creating an authority to start mapping out a stadium district in either Prince William County or Loudoun County, similar to the late 90s when there was a baseball authority created to help bring baseball to D.C. So we have Dan Snyder purchasing a $48 million property in Alexandria. At the same time, we have this bill progressing that may lead the stadium to come to Prince William County. And then we also have investigations going on into some certain allegations of Dan Snyder and a couple females in the workplace. So there's a lot of moving parts right now.
Geez. All right. First of all, where do we start? Do you want the new football team in Prince William County? Now, here's the thing. Let's talk about the football team first, right? Do you feel like it's part of DC when it's way over in Maryland? I sure as heck do not, right? And it drives me crazy, and I will never go to a game because it's just so far away. It's so hard to get to, right?
People go in when it's in Foxborough, and Foxborough's 40 minutes away from Boston.
Yeah, but
winning,
you know what I mean?
Winning cures everything.
That's true too. That's true.
You start winning, and people don't care where the stadium is.
You're right. But I just feel like it's so far away, and people from Maryland and people from Virginia, it's tough to cross that bridge. You know what I mean? It's just like we don't go over there that often. Nothing against it. It's just harder to get to, right? But if you change that now to Prince William County has probably the worst traffic on 95 ever, right? It's horrible as it is. So you're going to see a lot of people really pissed trying to get to that game and saying, man, or I'm stuck in traffic, I'm going to miss the whole freaking game, right? So they have to be smart in where they're positioning this if they are going to that. If they go to Loudoun County, I think Loudoun County would be a little better. That's where they practice. I mean, that could make sense. Where they put it, I don't know, but that is a very residential, sprawling area. And to put something like that there doesn't seem like it fits, right? So it's like, I can see them practicing out there, but a stadium, that would be weird, right? Prince William County, same thing. Like, where do you put it? My vote, dang, RFK, man. Rip that sucker down. Let's build a new one. Let's get that thing going, right? Because that's where everybody wants to be. They want to be in D.C. They want an easy commute. You can get there from Maryland. You can get there from Virginia, and the D.C. people are there. That's my vote. I don't know why they would be thinking, and naturally there's a lot of money in this, and counties paying and giving tax-free incentives and blah, blah, blah. But, man, make it easy for the people. The people are the people that are supporting this team. Put it in RFK. That's my let me know your opinion in the remarks below. I mean, that's my thought. What are yours?
There you go. How's that for a call to action? I love it. I think I've gone on the record in saying that I vehemently oppose a stadium in Virginia simply because the stadiums never make sense for the municipalities that they're in. Whether it's the owner, whether it's the team, whether it's the politicians that are behind the stadium deal, they promise new jobs, they promise new infrastructure, and they promise, better real estate. And all of that happens to a certain extent, but it usually doesn't happen to the extent that you are hoping for. And usually the tax write-offs or the tax benefits that they're giving these billionaires, essentially, it usually doesn't make sense for the municipalities that are giving the tax breaks to the billionaires. Like, if you want to build a stadium where you want to build it, why don't you build it, Dan Snyder? Why don't you build the stadium? I don't think it makes sense in Virginia. I think the best place is at RFK. Now, I think selfishly, since I'm a Virginia guy, I think I'd kind of like it to be in Virginia. Like, if it ends up at RFK, that's number one, right? That's the best spot for it without any question. If it ends up in Virginia, all right, that's cool.
Better than Maryland.
But yeah, when in doubt, it's better than Maryland. So when I first read the article or saw the headline, I kind of like threw up a little in my mouth, where it was like Dan Snyder buys a property in Alexandria. It's like, this is too close. Yeah. This is too close to home.
Well, and the thing is, like, I used to live down that area. I've lived everywhere in Northern Virginia, I think, but I used to ride my bike past this, and the estates on this area, there's a few different like little pockets where the homes are just immense, beautiful homes, docks. And what you're saying about his 300-foot yacht, I mean, I don't think it's going to fit there unless he dredges the hell out of that spot, because the Potomac River is very shallow. And they've dredged, there's a center line where all the big boats go, but getting to that house, man, you're in about a foot of water at the very very edge. So you're going to have to dredge a lot out of that, which, he could probably do, but that's a big boat. Yeah, so I'm sure he'll probably have his 100-footer there, and
So the second question that came up when I read the article, we'll move on here in a second, and this is more of like an ethical conundrum type of question. So now, I think I know what you would say, but imagine if Dan Snyder calls you and is like, Shawn, I want us to tour this $60 million property, and I want us to write an offer on it, and it's paying out what it's paying out. Would you take him as a client? Because I may have some ethically, if someone calls you,
I have no reservations. I will be there.
I know, but at a certain point, I just want you to, metaphorically speaking, if someone calls you, you know who they are, and let's just say whatever your political affiliation is, if someone on the opposite side of the table calls you, they're on TV all the time. They're not only on the opposite side, but they're on the far opposite. They're almost off the cliff opposite side. Everything that they believe in, you believe the opposite. Everything they would do, you would do the opposite. Mm-hmm. You look at them and you just your face, a little part of you dies on the inside. Yeah. And they call you and they're like, hey, my budget's $60 million. Can you help me?
Yeah, and I think that's maybe a big problem in this area, because it is such a political area that there are different sides. And, I can work with people. I don't care. It doesn't, my political affiliation is just I don't, it's not something that drives me, but there are a lot of people that are completely driven by that. I don't know Dan Snyder like Dan Snyder. I mean, Matt's friends with him, so
I don't know Dan Snyder at all.
No, but I was born and raised in Pittsburgh, and I'm a transplant here. I've been here a long time, but I've never really paid attention to Dan Snyder and what his problems or what he's done in the past. So for me, I would be like, heck yeah, dude, let's go tour. I'm ready. If it was somebody that I hated, I mean, I don't hate Matt.
Where is the line? There's got to be a line in the sand.
A murderer, a known murderer that I knew there was I know they're guilty. I'm
okay.
Done, dude.
There we go. That's what I was looking for.
A rapist. That's something that I know that they're doing wrong. Yeah, I don't know Dan Snyder, but if they're a proven person like that, and I'm just disgusted by it, no thanks.
Yeah. That line, I'm starting to think more and more about where my line is on certain things, because. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to be the ethical police on everything, but at a certain point, it's you got to stand up for what you believe in.
Absolutely, you do.
We have the choice of working with clients, and we like working with who we like working with. And at a certain point, you just gotta pass on opportunities. Sure. All right, let's move on to our next topic. This comes to us from Redfin.com. Redfin did a study where out-of-town buyers are spending nearly 30%, Shawn, 30% more than locals in migration hotspots. So the study outlines the top 10 cities in the United States where the out-of-towners' budget is more than the city's budget. And a few other outlets kind of took this and ran with it. Business Insider said here are the top 10 cities where a bubble could burst. I see how they hop, skipped, and jumped to that conclusion. Whether you want to do that whole rigmarole of jump into the bubble cities is up to you. To me, it just looks like here are where out-of-towners are being attracted to right now. I'll list and link the article below so you can read about how they did it, Shawn. The top city is Nashville, Tennessee. To give you an idea, average budget for locals, $573. Average maximum budget for out-of-towners, $763. Basically, $150,000 more than the average budget, or about 28% higher than the budget between out-of-towners and locals. Shawn, this could be a real issue. If Nashville is a hot market on its own, and then you have out-of-towners, sure, we hear about people leaving California, all this and that, but you're not in Kansas anymore. This is a long way from California, and there's a lot of cities on the East Coast and Midwest where it's like I don't think many people from California are moving here. But if the prices are 28% delta between out-of-towners and locals, I mean, just how difficult must that be for the locals to purchase real estate?
It's very difficult, and it's happening all over the place. California is one big exodus. I mean, we've seen them go to Texas. I was just reading an article where they're starting to go to Mexico, right? But not only is it state to state, but it's locality to locality. If you look at our local area, right? If you sell a property in DC, a row home would be $1.3 million, right? In Capitol Hill, let's say, 1.3, 1.5, $2 million, right? You could then move to Arlington and buy a single family for $2 million. Or you could take that $2 million, or whatever, that $2 million property you sell, and you could go out to Loudoun County and you could buy a beautiful 6,000 square foot house for about $1.3 million. Right? So just the 25 miles. And that's what we're seeing locally. We're seeing so many people sell their properties that are in the city, in Arlington and in DC, and they're starting to move outwards, and they're making those outer bands of properties in the Fairfax County, Loudoun County, just go up so much, where I feel like real estate agents out there aren't as used to the crazy markets as we are inside the Beltway, because inside the Beltway has always been pretty competitive, right? Now it's super competitive. I don't think any of us are prepared for what is happening now, but I think the agents that are out a little bit further aren't quite used to this, and neither are their buyers, right? And so, and the sellers and buyers are just like, holy, like, what's this going up by? Your example in Fairfax Station the other day, which is Fairfax County. Beautiful homes out there, large homes, probably about 4,000, 4,500 square feet, on nice lots. Priced back in the day, they were like $700,000-$800,000. Now this one, I mean, they're going 1 point something million, right? So we're seeing this exodus where people are moving out, and it's causing a price push everywhere.
Well, that one sold in Fairfax Station. That one sold $280,000 over the asking price.
Prime example.
Priced around $800,000, ended up closing for what, $1 million and change. VA loan, and I'm thinking maybe you were the one that said this. Like maybe they were going to put down 20%, and then they could easily just shift down to 0%.
Yeah.
Obviously, it depends on what your monthly payment is. That's like, it doesn't really matter what your down payment is. Just what's your monthly nut every single month. But I was wondering for that one, do you think they just left the escalation clause open? Because have you ever written a contract with a client where you're like, you know what, this one to me, I think it's going to escalate 300 over, so let's go 280. Like you do like, okay, maybe it's going to escalate 20,000 or 100,000. You don't $300,000. They have to have left that open and been like, it's just going to
price.
Yeah, write your price.
Or you just go back to them and say, all right, listen, what do you want it for? I have seen contracts and heard of contracts that just have no escalation cap. It's just tell me what it is and I'll buy it. Just nuts. But I mean, that shows you how much money's out there when they do sell properties. There's so much money in equity, like we were talking about last week, equity in homes. You think about these people that bought a DC row home back in the day for $350,000, and then 15 years later it's worth $1.5 million. They've got $1.2 million of equity that they just freaking gained, right? So of course, I don't care what it costs over here. I'm moving, and that was free money to me, So that's where it's hitting people that are trying to get into the market compared to the people that have assets that they're selling. They're taking this equity and they're just pouring it in. Plus, not only that, they might have had money in the market, and the markets had been up so much. Now inflation's starting to hit a little bit, so are interest rates. I think buyers are starting to panic. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to afford, blah, blah, blah.
A few other top cities that made the list: Philadelphia, New York, Atlanta, Miami. All three of these cities had a delta of at least 25% between the out-of-towners budget and the local budget. And Shawn, what struck me most about this list, Philly, New York, Atlanta, these are cities.
Yeah.
These are like actual big-time cities. And, maybe this is something to do with the actual report itself, but cities aren't dead. They were never going to die. There was an article, when the pandemic started, New York City's dead. It's never coming back. Yeah.
Boom, now it's
what a
skyrocketing.
bunch of baloney.
Yep.
These cities, they're always going to have some level of attraction. And then the fact that out-of-towners are moving to Philadelphia or, Atlanta. Atlanta, I've heard, is becoming really, really hot because your money just goes so far and everything is getting better in Atlanta. And then obviously with Miami and New York, you also have the international kind of cachet that comes along with those cities.
Yeah, and it's happening everywhere. I think, I always think about our local area, and I think about this all the time. It's like, all right, well, I live here, and I get used to these prices here. And at some point, I'll sell, and I'll retire, and I'll go somewhere else. And when you do that, you're so used to the values here that when you move to an area that is less valuable, you're like, man, this is so cheap. Look what I can get, right? I mean, now the prices are going up everywhere. So it's like, holy cow, like I can't believe what I could have bought a couple of years ago, but you can't look back, man. You just got to say, all right, I'm ready. I'm jumping. Let's do it. But it's happening everywhere. And to see this, the other thing is the competition with, investment companies buying properties and your investor flippers. It's all real. And this is all putting that inflation or that pressure on the market.
Yeah, I'm going to be curious to see how long this lasts. The whole they call them migrants. So the whole like moving to other cities, buying second homes. I'm very curious. I was watching a YouTube video the other day, and that person was saying that the market was going to crash in 2025, and for whatever that means. I can't even name who it was. It's just some guy on YouTube.
And like we've said, we don't know that we're in a bubble until the bubble bursts, right? So I mean, naturally we're in a bubble, but is it the beginning of the bubble or is it the end of the bubble? That's what we don't know. And, at some point it's going to stop, and you just don't know where. And I've used my own experiences so many times and thought it was going to never end, and then it ended, right? So it can happen quickly. We talk about how quickly it can happen. Rising interest rates are a way to start calming that craze. And so that's what's happening. That's the first part. And, there's articles out there about bubble bursting and things like that. Read those articles, and there's indicators that say, all right, where's this going to end, right? So
interesting. Washington, D.C., very low on the list at 3.7, which is arguably just a wash, if you will. Yeah. All right, let's move on to our final topic. This comes to us from luxurylaunches.com. You can actually buy and live inside the world's first real-life NFT luxury mansion in Miami. Now, Shawn, we've done a few video topics on NFTs. Just to recap, I think the first one we may have done was a virtual house in Mars sold for like $500,000. Yep. So we did a story like that. And then we did a story in California where if you buy the house, then you get an NFT of the house. You just get, I think it was on OpenSeas or something. You just get the NFT of the house. Interesting, the house didn't end up selling.
Which would be like a 3D model of the house.
Something like that. You get exactly. You get a 3D artwork of the house. And then the most recent video we've done about selling an NFT in a house was in Florida, where a house was auctioned via the blockchain. You connect your wallet, and then whoever wins the auction essentially gets an NFT transferred to their wallet along with ownership rights to the house, which was via an LLC. So you win the house, you win the NFT, and you win the LLC, where it has a house listed as its asset. Which brings us to this article, which is different. All of these are very similar, but there are some some John Stark differences.
And that's the thing is, like, you have to know what an NFT is to kind of know the differences of these. And it's really interesting how different they could be. Right?
This one
cool.
may be, the Florida one was really cool. So that one, and utilitarian wise, that may
very neat way
end
of selling
up being the best out of all these. But this one is a very, very close second, and it may even be my favorite. So essentially what's happening is a mansion in Miami is being built. IRL, in real life, a mansion in Miami is being built. So you can buy the mansion in Miami. And when you buy the mansion, not only is the developer, let's see, the house is called Meta Residence 1. It's a joint venture between NFT firm Meta Residence and One Sotheby's International Realty, along with Voxel Architects. So not only do you buy the mansion in real life, but you also get a mansion in the metaverse, and it's basically like a one of ones, 1-for-1, I should say, where the mansion in the metaverse is the same exact look and feel and property of the actual mansion. If that's not cool enough, the metaverse that it's in is the Sandbox, which is arguably the most popular metaverse out there. So it's not just some random metaverse where no one's ever going to be. This is the metaverse where properties are selling for millions of dollars. Pixels are selling for millions of dollars in this metaverse, and this developer has gone in, purchased real estate in the metaverse, and is now constructing this mansion in the metaverse, so you can hang out in your Miami mansion in real life, or go to the one of the most popular metaverses online and hang out in your mansion on the metaverse. Shawn, tell me you're not impressed.
Matt, I know you're salivating on this one.
I
This
am.
is like straight up Matt Leighton alley. I mean, I think it's such a good idea. Actually, I might go buy my plot of land in the Sandbox right now.
Dude, they're
and do the
pretty
same
expensive.
thing. Are they really? Just my. I mean,
go play around. Go play around.
I'm going to, yeah. But what a neat concept! I can't believe that it's coming to this, and to get, I'm assuming, an exact replication of the property you're buying is such a cool thing. Man, how our lives are changing NFT wise.
Yeah, because I don't really like the whole Minecraft, like, very blocky.
I hate that. Like, that's my thing.
I like more futuristic animations.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, like, when you go to these websites, and I was on them the other day, just look at them. Some are real blocky, and I'm like, I don't see the coolness factor of this. And, you know, there are people that love the Minecraft look and, like, that's their thing. But, like, I want to be able to walk through that thing with my 3D goggles. I want it to be cool. I want it to be awesome. I want to have people over on their 3D goggles and just hang out in my place, right? I don't care, I don't care to go on a computer and say, oh, this is my thing. I want to be able to experience it, right? And I think that's the difference. And I'm assuming in the Sandbox, is that can you do stuff like that? I haven't been on it to that level, but
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
So the article says the NFT home will serve as an extension of the real world home, thus allowing the owner to host events and meetups with guests from around the world.
So sick.
It's kind of cool.
So listen, we're going to have a party in my mansion, but at the same time, we're going to have a party in my NFT mansion. So the people that can't make it, I'll see you in the metaverse.
It's kind of cool.
I mean, come
and
on.
of course, this is happening in Miami, which is a hotbed for crypto.
Yeah.
So that's our crypto story
So cool.
for the day. It's it's located in one of the real life property is located in one of Miami's most sought after neighborhoods. So this isn't just some run of the mill new construction.
Do you have an idea of what this is going to cost? I'm assuming like double 40s millions.
I haven't been able to find the price. If I find it, I'll throw it up on the screen. But you know what they say, if you have to ask, Shawn.
Yeah, we're in the wrong.
It's out of Shawn's budget. might be out of my budget, depending on what happens with my NFT.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Well, that just about does it for another episode of the Shawn and Matt Show. If you like this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up button. Drop a comment down below. Let us know how we're doing. And until next time, we'll see you then.
Take care.